Good evening, everyone. My name is Jahana Hayes, and I'm the Congresswoman for Connecticut's 5th Congressional District. But tonight, I'd like to frame my remarks through the lens of a teacher. I came to Congress as a teacher. I was a teacher at Kennedy High School on that day in December of 2012. A Friday, a very cold Friday, when 14 miles down the road, a school shooting took place at Newtown, Sandy Hook. I don't have the words to describe to you what it feels like when you're the adult in the room and your kids look at you and say, "Miss, what's going on? What is happening?" To add a little bit more context to this story, my husband was a police officer in the city where I worked as a teacher. He had been a homicide detective for almost 27 years, and he texted me 2 words: "It's bad." So imagine a Friday before the Christmas holiday when kids are excited and ready to go home. We go into lockdown and we get the news that there has been a school shooting. And over the next several hours, information is leaked to kids, and they are looking at you wide-eyed. "Miss, what is happening? Are we okay? How can you protect us?" Those questions played in my mind over the last 13 years. We went home that Friday, came back on Monday. Grief counselors came and went. But those students, those 14-year-olds, wanted an answer from me why the adults in this country couldn't keep kids safe in school, why the slaughter of 20 kindergartners wasn't enough for this country to say enough. That was 2012. In 2013, I was still a teacher in the classroom, still standing in front of students, still unable to answer that question. I can tell you that I felt effectively hopeless, like there was nothing I could do to answer this question. Like as a classroom teacher, I did not have the power to keep my students safe. After Parkland, one of the first legislative actions that was proposed by then Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos was to arm teachers. And I said, hell no. There is no way you are introducing more guns into this place with these kids who have already been traumatized by gun violence. And I decided I was going to run for Congress. And I can tell you, I say that because in the classroom, I felt hopeless. So as a member of Congress, I refuse to accept that I serve in a body that will not even hold a hearing on school shootings. I refuse to accept that I serve in a body where we can't even get a definition of what a school shooting is so that the CDC can evaluate it and put resources behind it. I refuse to accept that I serve in a body where we don't prioritize mental health resources and wraparound services so that kids never get a hold of guns in the first place. I am no longer that classroom teacher who went home at night and fell on my knees and prayed, asking, what can I do to keep these kids safe? I am in a position to make laws and changes to keep these kids safe. And I refuse to accept that there is nothing that we can do. And I can tell you, I had a hesitation as a classroom teacher about making this political. But what I have learned in this Congress is that every day we choose by our action and inaction about how we're going to keep kids safe. We choose by the federal dollars that we appropriate about how we're going to allocate the resources to keep kids safe. We choose and make conscious decisions about how we're going to make sure that the teachers who stand in front of our kids are equipped with the resources to answer that question, Miss, are we going to be safe, and how can you guarantee that that will happen? We choose that every day. And I can tell you that for as long as I am in this body, I will work to answer that question for those 14-year-olds. Because 13 years later, they are not 14-year-olds anymore, but they still deserve better, and they deserve an answer to that, and they deserve to know that even though they lived through this tragedy as ninth graders, they won't have to re-experience it at the college level, in their workplace, or in their communities. Our kids deserve better. And there is nothing more debilitating than when you are the adult in the room and you don't have the answer to a very simple question. Miss, are we going to be okay? That was enough to propel me to run for Congress. And I can tell you that in that moment, I didn't know if I had the strength to stand. In that moment, I didn't know what Monday would feel like. But today, as Congressman Frost said, I stand here firm in my convictions and resolute that we will make a difference, that this movement will continue to move forward, that one day I will be able to say, maybe not for those kids, but for their kids, you will be safe when you go to school, your children will be safe, your communities will be safe, because we will do the hard work to make sure that happens. I commit myself to doing that. I will never accept this as a normal reality, that kids will leave home and we don't know if they'll come back as a result of gun violence. The fact that it is the #1 killer of children ages 1 to 19 is enough for every adult in this country to stand up and commit themselves to answering that question. Miss, am I going to be safe? When you know better, you do better. And as a classroom teacher, I prayed. I talked to my kids. I did whatever I thought I could do within the confines of my classroom. But as a member of Congress, I will introduce legislation, I will vote, I will organize my colleagues, I will go into my community, I will remind people that your vote is your voice, and this is how you decide who you want to represent you on these issues that keep your children safe. I refuse to accept survival as our only option. I want our kids to thrive. I want them to be okay. I want classrooms to be safe places where kids can learn. And I don't want any family, any community, any neighborhood to experience the raw sense of helplessness and hurt that we experience throughout the state of Connecticut. And I will just end by saying, I want to make sure that as I stand here and speak to you as a classroom teacher who represents the community of Newtown, Sandy Hook, that we acknowledge the intensity of not just the 20 children and 6 educators who were slaughtered on that day, but the slow drip of violence that happens in our community every day. When I go back to the projects where I grew up, every family that's been affected, the 1 or 2 people, the neighbors, the friends, the church members, all of those people, the hurt is just the same. One is not more important than the other. One is not bigger than the other. So we as a community, as a nation, have to put the same value behind the one person and the value in the life of that one brother, sister, friend, aunt, uncle, mother, father that we organize and rally behind, as we've seen school shooting after community shooting after mall shooting. One is as bad as the other, and we have to do the work to make sure that not any of those deaths are in vain. We will overcome the gun lobby. We will change the laws. We will do the work because we outnumber them. Don't ever forget that. And if at any moment you feel weary and your knees get weak and you feel like you're going to fall, remember my students. Remember your families. Remember your communities. They deserve an answer to the question, Miss, will we be safe? Miss, can you assure that we'll be okay? Miss, will this happen here? We all have to work together collectively to come up with an answer to that question. I had a great gig in a classroom. I was a really good teacher. But none of that matters if my kids think that their future is not guaranteed. It doesn't matter what... Watch your mouth, Congresswoman. It doesn't matter what the fuck you teach kids if they don't know that they're going to grow up into adulthood. It doesn't matter. So our work is not done. Do not grow weary in doing good, because in just time, in due time, you will reap the harvest, and our kids deserve it. They deserve it, and it is up to us to